How are you?
Oh, I'm good.
Finally
Oh,
meet.
yes. Yo, man. So I just got home from the coast yesterday and I did 4 demo videos last night.
Wow. They take a lot of time, don't they?
Yeah, the editing, it takes a long time, and you can appreciate this, is so you make the thing, right? So you take the pedal or the whatever piece of content, and then you have to share it all over the place.
Yeah.
And you're trying to think, did I put it there? Did I put it there? And that takes almost as much time for me as the filming and editing part, is the
Yeah.
sharing it appropriately.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I started off a bit gung ho at first, and I was doing sort of 2 interviews a week, not realizing how much time it takes. But thankfully, from December onwards, I'm doing one a week. And I've got them now booked up until I think March time because they just take up so much time, don't they? And it's the sharing the stuff and making sure you've got everybody's links tagged in and things like that. It's really time consuming, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, I have my phones in my hand just about all day, and it's a lot of it's the communication. It's not even the actual playing or the recording. It's talking to people all the time, which is good. It's fun.
It is, yeah. It is. It takes up a lot of time, and it's really hard work, and it can be tiring. At the end of the day, sort of the weekend or of an evening, I'm like exhausted. Just keeping in touch with people and things like that. But like I say, it's great fun. And in the short space of time that I've been doing this, I've met some fantastic people, including yourself.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, the when I started taking pedal demos seriously about I want to say it was a little before the beginning of last year. It was like the tail end of 2018 into 2019. I started deciding to do more pedal demos.
Yeah.
And then through 2019, the tail end of 2019, really started taking it seriously. And then around the shutdown, I really got involved with the pedal demo scene because I was still juggling a couple different things. I was doing solo music and other gear, and there was just too much. There's too much,
Yeah.
too many different things.
Yeah, and it's very difficult when you're getting pulled from one place to another to keep focused on it and make sure everything's right. And I'm still learning, certain things and with technology and things like that. And yeah, I'm getting there anyway. So when you started doing sort of demos seriously last year, what made you decide you was going to do that? Was it just passion for doing demos, or are you looking long term to hopefully make I don't know a career of it or a part career? What's your ambitions?
Yeah, I would like to kind of evolve what I do, and I've already gotten a lot of traction as far as bringing in business for these really small pedal builders, which is really my passion. It's like there's really professional people that can work for the big guys, but these small companies, they don't have the budget to do what it takes to even get on a big YouTube channel. So it's like my place is to try and bring awareness of small builders and to be kind of a resource, and like I can make your pedals sound good so you can sell them. That's my
Yeah.
goal in the short term, but longer term to develop the content and just get it more engaging for everyone.
Yeah, I've come really from the same sort of place with the group is to really support grassroots, of the industry. Excuse me, to support the likes of, or do as whatever we can to support the likes of Lucky and Ryan
Exactly.
Entrekin, and these guys, um, because it's like I say, they've not got the budgets and stuff like that, but they make some fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is when I first got into pedals, I only knew kind of what you can buy off your, I think for you it'd be like Thomann or Andertons or like your big box retailers. You're kind of aware of what's there. And then you have to deep dive and really explore on the Instagram and Facebook to find the other builders. And it takes some time to kind of come around to, I'm not just going to log on a website and throw my bucks at it and I get it in a couple days. Like sometimes it's kind of an involved conversation and a process.
Yeah.
So it's kind of making that less of a jump for players and you know, for the market. So it's like they might not even have a website. Like half the builders I work for don't even have an official website.
That's it.
And it's like, okay, so you have to kind of explain the process to people. Like, I don't know, it's got a little bit of learning curve, but what you get for your money when working with smaller builders, I mean, you get something really cool and unique, and that's what I like.
Yeah, and I think we've all got something to give. I mean, my background in my career has been very much sales and that type of thing. That's you know, sales and marketing and things. And sometimes, the builder will remain nameless, but we know him, and he's a lovely guy. And he openly admits, he says to me, "Steve, I'm not good at marketing myself, but he's damn good at making pedals, and that's his skill. And you know, if I can link up with him and use my proactiveness and the skills I've developed throughout my career and sort of link together, that great, you know. And if we can help the industry and get the guitarists in connecting with you know, the builders, and brilliant, I'm happy. That's what I set out to do. And something what you're saying about, you know, you're researching on Instagram and things like that, I do the same. You know, I copy links, and when I find a builder, I copy links, and I've got the same. I've got my mobile phone, and I've got various different notes, and there's and I'd copied the notes to a Word file, and it's like 13 pages of, you know, pages of different builders that I'm interested in, and I want to bring to the group, you know, at some point. It's just time, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, but it's a good time to be alive. I think the resources both for builders and players are there to where you can learn more about just the design of both, because I love fuzzes, right? That's all I really am passionate about is fuzzes. But it's like you can learn so much more now. There's so many schematics and videos, and the parts suppliers are kind of up to date with the modern times. You're not ordering out of a paper catalog, tracing down the component name and a long SKU that you need to fax in or something. Like we're in a time now where the availability and the ease of getting into building your own pedals, and just the market for it's competitive. So there's not just one supplier for every part. You know, in the early days of the internet, the parts availability was a little less friendly towards pedal builders. You kind of had to figure out a lot more just to be able to even order your parts. Now there's a lot of those resources there where availability there's less of a gap. So I don't know, there's just a lot to be grateful for today. What I would say, and you might be attest to this, is that I think people are buying gear more since the quarantine because they're spending more time at home.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed that as well.
I certainly have. And, you know, it's one of the questions I'm asking builders when I'm interviewing, and they all say the same. Yeah. It was Chris King Robinson of Pedal Porn. He said that he didn't know whether it was just him because he's more conscious of his like the bubble and the community that he works in. But he's like, the industry is just shot up. People are buying pedals. People are getting more interested in guitar effects. And I think us guitarists, we've probably been at a loose end, and now we're focusing on other things like that to keep our interest and keep the mind ticking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think it's big. I would say there's a couple factors that have driven interest in pedals lately. I would say for me, I've been into YouTube for a long time. I started making YouTube videos casually in like 2010, like 10 years ago. Yeah, I have old videos, but I started loving watching YouTube early on. And what I would say that's really contributed to the pedal community is how prolific you know, That Pedal Show and JHS. I would say, especially in the States, JHS is probably the #1 name in pedal YouTube videos. And his kind of flair for what he likes, especially since he really likes fuzz, I think has helped drive awareness of fuzz pedals in a way that I don't think I can point at any single person that has contributed as much to driving interest in fuzz as he has.
Yeah, and also the way that Josh promotes JHS, and that he'll go on at the end of his videos, he'll show an earthquaker device pedal, he'll show a jam pedal or a boss pedal. He openly promotes other companies, his competition. Do you know what I mean? It's such a refreshing way to promote a business, I think, and it's nice. I think people take to that kind of humanity of it rather than just trying to be sold something. Do you know what I mean? Right. He sells on education, doesn't he?
Yeah, and you're right. He doesn't always just sell his own products. I think he is the historical stuff. So he's showing actual vintage units that he's collected and stuff like that. I think it's really driven a lot of interest in looking a little deeper into the lore of pedals. I mean, there's a handful of stuff I bought. I had those little Dan Electro Fab pedals I bought pretty much based off of that good episode he did where he kind of broke them all down and said, hey, these are cheap still. Yeah. And these are what they all do, kind of a thing. But I would say, yeah, he drove a lot of interest because I'm on Discord, which is kind of like there's a lot of younger players and kind of it's like a crossover between people who play a lot of video games and people who play guitar. Mm-hmm. And so it's like a younger audience, and I see them expressing a lot more interest in pedals than I remember being present even 5 years ago.
Wow. And what is it about fuzz with you? I mean, if somebody mentions fuzz, you're the man that the first thing that pops into, you're the first person that pops into my mind. What is it about fuzz that you love so much?
I think it's this. When you buy, say if you bought 10 overdrives, they're all kind of loosely based on a tube screamer, right? They might have subtle differences, but at their core, they still are basically the same thing. Like I did an overdrive shootout. I had I think it was eight overdrives that I ran into a high gain amp and independently, and they all sound kind of the same. Like you can hear it, but it's mostly they start to sound pretty similar. Like you can tweak the tone knob and get it. With fuzz, every single circuit that I've played on, every fuzz pedal has had a unique voice that even a casual listener could pick out and say, if I A-B'd and showed them two different random fuzz pedals, like you can really hear the difference. Even if their lineage came from the same place, say I have, 4 muffs or 4 face style fuzzes, because of how extreme the circuit is, even changing, so not even changing the value, but changing the composition that say the resistors or transistors are made of different materials, but they have the same relative values, it'll radically change in the circuit. So you'll get a totally different sound with very subtle changes in the circuit. So the end result is hundreds, if not thousands of unique fuzz circuits without repetition. So that's why I get so excited about fuzz, because every single one sounds audibly different.
Yeah, well, I think then again, I've read a lot of your comments and posts on fuzz, and you seem you're obviously very knowledgeable about the circuits and everything else. I mean, have you made your own fuzzes or?
So that's my goal, is right around the beginning of next year, because I'm still kind of working through a backlog of demos and I have some other goals. What I want to do in January, that's my New Year's resolution, is to get set up with a proper solder station, get a couple DIY kits and start working through making my own, and just being able to mod and add additional features to things like adjusting master volumes, extra gain stages, additional clipping diode options. I want to get to that level of comfortable modding things at that level. So that's definitely my goal for next year.
Yeah, well, as you've seen, it's one of mine as well. I bought the unit, so I'll be starting that probably this week. I'll do. Crikey, it's been years since I held a soldering iron, so I've got to practice that. I've got to practice holding a soldering iron, different techniques. I'm going to have to research on YouTube. And it is a little bit daunting, especially when you put yourself out there into a community of people that are actually very knowledgeable and have actually done it and know how to do it and know how to solder very well. But if anything, it will be a good laugh for them as I bodge things up and make mistakes and everything else, you know.
I think what you'll run into, at least if I remember this right, because I had a friend that was really good at soldering. He did a couple mods for me, but he wasn't a pedal builder or anything. This was years and years ago. The thing he seemed to struggle with the most is getting all the connections of the switch right. So whatever it is about the switches, because you have to bridge and you have to do a couple things that are pretty, if you bleed the solder over too far, it seemed like the switch was kind of the sticking point for a lot of people.
All right. Well, I'm sure that will be a sticking point for me, amongst many other things as well. But there you are. So, and if you go on, sorry, you was going to say.
Oh, I just was scared off of solder irons because when I was young, I was trying to do my own mods and I burned my finger once, and I was never again, because it's all it takes is just a millisecond. You touch that hot soldering iron tip on accident, and it'll blister right up right then. And